Hello, my name is Brian Ecklund, and I am 24 years old. I am an artist, poet, painter, playwright, philosopher, gardener, mathematician, world-class geologist, social media marketer, sculptor, scientist, pro athlete, Renaissance man, and most importantly, a graphic designer. My passion for design comes from an intense desire to communicate with the world around me using a diverse and universal visual language. A rich language that is fluid and ever-changing. A language that is refined daily by the pressures of an ever-changing people. I am dedicated to my craft like a fisherman that is dedicated to the sea. I work tirelessly to create, to destroy, and to create again. To be better. To know better. When I was 6 years old, my dad told me the story of the woman who created the Nike swoosh, and I'll never forget that day. He looked down at me and he said, "Son, the woman who created that is very, very rich now." And I remember looking up at him and then looking at the logo and then looking back at him and saying, "Dad, when I'm older, I want to create the next Nike swoosh. I want to become very rich in doing so." And he looked back at me and he had so much hope in his eyes, and that is partly what inspired me to be the graphic designer that I am today. And from that day forward, I was committed to living my life in such a way, to pursue my defining mark in search of my very own Nike swoosh. Since then, I've worked with many world-class design firms, such as Hugo and Stratton, Zango and Zango, Billings Creative, Wow Design, and the Trash Can Collective, and have been featured in publications such as Time Magazine, The Wall Street Journal, the West Indiana Weekly, and the Times New Roman. I've worked with many well-known artists such as the world-class skateboarder Tony Hawk, and lasting pop legend Kelsey Clarkson, and the award-winning musician and producer Pharrell Williams. One of the last projects I worked on was with well-known and respected country music artist Garth Brooks. And me and Garth spent 2 weeks in the south of France. I helped him create his new brand, his new mark. And on the last day, we had been working tirelessly for the previous 2 weeks. On the last day, we met at this small coffee shop, and I had my final idea for Garth. And we sat down, and I pulled out a red string. And I took the string, and I started laying it out, and after a few moments, we looked down at what would be his new logo, his new brand, his new mark. And Garth looked up at me, and he said, "That's f***ing brilliant, dude. That is brilliant." And I sat there, and nothing has made me happier. That was one of the best days of my life. As a designer, every day I'm challenged to look at the world around me and think to myself, why? And in response, I'm required to look at the stars or the clouds in the sky and echo to myself, how? And suddenly, I'm in the moment, and I no longer need the wind. And as you see, there's an infinite amount of tools at my disposal, but one sits at the center. Painters use their brush, sculptors use their hands, carpenters use their materials, and musicians use their instruments. And as a graphic designer, I use my MacBook Pro. And at the end of the day, after I've spent hours sketching, designing, creating, I sit back and think to myself, that was really, 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 really cool that I did that. So what I ask you now is simple. Will you let me bring your vision to life? Will you work with me to help create the next Nike swoosh? Will you hire me so I can propel myself into the deep reaches of space, to dive into the deepest and darkest depths of the ocean, to come back with not just a logo and a brand, a business card and a letterhead, but with the knowledge and the materials to build a ship that will sail off into a brighter tomorrow? get in touch with me today. Thank you.